Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Juno New Origins, where we are currently headed on down to Atraitus here. We're currently on a trajectory to just barely touch the atmosphere here, with the idea being, hopefully 3080 is okay, with the idea being I want to plan a burn at the periapsis, and how much delta V do we have? We've got 750 meters per second left over. Okay, so that is understood. With 750 meters per second left over, we can just do that. And that'll push us back to here. Okay, so we're going to execute that, but I'm going to warp us to about here or so, because I want to let our solar panels charge up, but we're going to need to stow our solar panels before we head in. Look at how fast we're moving. We're definitely going to burn up. Definitely. So we're moving at like 20k meters per second. I'm going to stow these. There we go. And the question is even this too high? Is 3080 too high? Well, our lights are going to go away nice and quick, I'm sure. But let's go ahead and get ourselves lined up for this, and let's warp in. We exceeded 20 kilometers per second. Yeah, we're cruising. No doubt about that. Okay, so we're still technically a little bit above the atmosphere here, and we're currently burning. We can see our altitude above ground level and sea level are the exact same. So this is going to be roughly a minute before we hit the periapsis here, and we're not in the atmosphere quite yet, although we will be very shortly. We're only dipping into the atmosphere by like 9 kilometers. We will see how intense that atmosphere gets. Okay, that was definitely us hitting the atmosphere, right? Oh yeah, that was definitely us hitting the atmosphere. So let's burn this right on off. And let's get as much speed reduced as we can. So we are in atmosphere at this moment. The air density is not showing as being particularly high, but I'm pretty sure we do have some drag. Yeah, we've got some drag. No doubt about that. Okay. So we're going to finish up this burn here, and this is going to reduce us down to here. But we're going to have to do a lot of passes. That's understood. We're now going up, so, I mean, we're not burning up at this altitude, but the air density, very, very, very low. That's understood. We're going to burn off all of our fuel here. So now we have no fuel remaining. We completed Tier 1 of Atraitus aerobraking by exceeding 100 meters per second of aerobrake. We're going to exceed a whole lot more than that. Okay, we're not quite out of fuel yet. Let's lock velocity retrograde and just burn the last little bit here. Apparently we had slightly more DV than that. Okay. There we go. We're now burned completely out. So 101 megameters versus 3,080 kilometers. Sounds good. We're out of the atmosphere at this point, so let's go ahead and re-extend our solar panels. And let's warp around to somewhere like here. There we go. Now the question is, are we ever going to have an interaction with this moon? If we do, that could potentially cause us a significant issue. We're not in quite the right inclination. We will see if we end up having an interaction with it. It would be potentially problematic. Okay, let's warp forward a little bit here. Okay, we're still pretty high up here. So let's continue warping, and I'm going to stow our solar panels at this time. And let's see just how much aerobraking we get done here. So we're going to be hitting the atmosphere momentarily here. We popped out of the warp. So we can see here no drag force right now. And it would seem that 3080 is maybe a little bit on the too cautious side, but we'll see. We're currently losing velocity though in surface velocity mode. And time to periapsis is decreasing. I would expect us to be gaining velocity still at this time. So we've definitely got some aerobraking happening. There's no doubt about that. We're starting to go back up, though. But let's see. We've dropped this by almost 10 megameters. That's not too bad. Okay, we're now out of the atmosphere, and so let's extend our solar panels once more, and let's bring this right on back around. Okay, that could have been potentially spicy there in terms of messing up our orbit. I'm hoping that this comes down below here before we have an encounter. We'll see. We will see if that becomes a thing. So let's warp to about here. Okay. And I'm going to stow our solar panels, and then let's just warp on through at a reasonable rate, because we're going to have to do a number of aerobrake passes. Excellent. So we're going to be entering the atmosphere right about now, actually. We are in the atmosphere at this moment, so we are seeing some drag force. We can see our apoapsis dropping right on down. Each pass seems to be roughly 10 megameters or so, although that's going to reduce in efficiency as we go forward. That said, eventually our periapsis will start to decay as well. The question is, how many orbits are we going to have to do dipping into the atmosphere like this? We're definitely losing quite a lot of speed here, so that is noted. But we've got a long ways to go on that. Truly a ludicrously long ways. So that's understood. We're down to about 85 megameters at this point. We're starting to go up, so we're going to lose some efficiency on that. Okay, so we're now down to 83 megameters, and yeah, you can see this is not dropping nearly as quickly. Now we're out of the atmosphere, so let's go ahead and re-extend our solar panels. And let's warp all the way around. Cool. So we're going to do some amount of power charging here. But for now, this is absolutely fine. And we're coming right on back in. I'd like to be going a little faster than this. Okay, we can stow these panels shortly. Right about now, I'm going to stow them. There we go, and we'll be entering the atmosphere for yet another aerobrake pass momentarily. Cool, let's take this up to 2x, just to make it go that little bit faster. And it definitely appears I was a little too cautious on this. We could have dipped a little further in, but to be honest, I think this is fine for now. So taking a look at our overall orbit here, I think we're going to be safe and we're not going to have an encounter with Nebra, because I think 2 more aerobrake passes and we'll probably be past this, is my theory. We're currently on the way up at this point. It's not quite going to be 10 megameters per at this point, but I think, yeah, 2 more aerobrake passes beyond this one and we should be in a pretty good spot there. So that all looks fine for now. We are officially out of the atmosphere now, so we can re-extend our solar panels and warp around to about here. There we go. We're accelerating right on back up. Cool. And let's stow our solar panels once more and warp in at a reasonable speed. Wonderful. So it's just going to be this for a little while here while we work on bringing down that apoapsis and our overall surface velocity. I'm wondering if we could maybe use our drogue chutes here, but I think that the max speed would probably cause the primary issue here. The max speed doesn't really take into account what we're doing here, so I don't think that would be a great idea, to be honest. Okay, we're just continuing to aerobrake here. We got that 100 meters per second aerobrake on the very first pass, so each aerobrake is probably like 250 meters per second here, which is, I mean, not bad. I mean, we can see it doing significant work here. No doubt about that. But we've got a long ways to go on getting this surface velocity down. That's for sure. We're going to be out of the atmosphere shortly, and we'll warp around yet again. Okay, we're out now, so let's just head right on around to somewhere like here. The vast majority of this time, we're working on charging up our solar panels, or rather charging our battery, but we don't have very much light to work with out here. The solar panels are not very efficient at this position. So that's understood. We'll restow them. And let's head right on in. So we're at maximum warp. Okay, we'll take that back up to 2x, and we'll be dipping into the atmosphere yet again. So you can see here, 21.5, that's definitely an improvement. And this is getting really close to being on the inside of Nebra's orbit. So that is phenomenal. I think it'll be on the inside this pass. Maybe not quite out of the danger zone of, oh, we went slightly lower than 3080. We went to 3079.9. That's also a pretty good sign. So yeah, this is definitely on the inside now, but it's not quite going to avoid an encounter if there was going to be one. Luckily, I think our timing is fine and there's not going to be one. So let's just extend this and let's get ourselves to a safe position, because at this point, if we were to warp here, now we're probably never going to have an encounter with Nebra, and that's exactly what I want to see. I want to warp us a fair amount further than this, actually. To like here. Now let's go ahead and stow these guys and warp on forward. Yes, we are indeed on a course to enter the atmosphere. That's exactly by design. This is going to be a lot of aerobrake passes. Okay, we'll take this up to 2x. We have cut our apoapsis down almost in half at this point. This aerobrake pass should bring the apoapsis down by more than half. So that's phenomenal. That's really, really good. If we look at our overall eccentricity in this orbit, where is that? Here we go, 0.63. And that number is going to be significantly improving. I like it. So we're down to about 21 kilometers per second at this point. This is a ridiculous thing to be doing, by the way. This is absolutely ridiculous. But I mean, we had the Delta V to pull it off, so why not give it a go, right? We're out of the atmosphere at this point, so let's bring this right on back around. We have a very, very small window in our orbit in which we're actually aerobraking at this time, and that's absolutely understood. We knew that that was going to be the case. Okay, we should stow our solar panels and continue to warp forward. Excellent. I still expect this thing to burn up in the atmosphere, to be clear, even with this extremely cautious approach to aerobraking. I absolutely expect this thing to burn up in the atmosphere before we reach the crush height, which the crush height is, I believe, 50 kilometers. So, yeah, we've got a ways to go on that front. So the periapsis is still reading as 3080, and that's absolutely understood. We're going to get this thing down under, perhaps? I don't think we're quite going to get under 21,000 meters per second at this particular aerobrake pass, but we're going to be continuing to drop this down. I want to watch this height here. So, yeah, 79.9, 79.8. And now we're going back up. Okay, so each pass, we seem to be dropping by roughly 100 meters on the periapsis. That is going to buy us more time, and there's exceeding 1 kilometer per second of aerobraking on Titus. I love it. This is making us a lot of tech points, actually. Fascinating. We're going to continue to work on that. We're going to get a lot more aerobrake out of this. So that's absolutely wonderful. We're going to continue to warp through this. I should have had it on 2x, but I was distracted. Okay, we're now out of the atmosphere, so let's warp on around again and take another pass. Cool. So we're bringing this guy right on up, and let's stow our solar panels. Wouldn't want to lose those, would we? Okay, we are officially not in the atmosphere at this point. Let's warp on forward. Yes, we are indeed on course to enter the atmosphere. Fully expected. So, I think we're going to get down below 21 kilometers per second on this pass. That's great. Each pass that we do here, we get just a little bit further in terms of our periapsis dipping down, and that means we have just a little bit more of our overall velocity shaved off. That's great. We're really, really happy to see that. Okay, so 79.9, 79.8. We're going to get to 79.7. Looks like not this pass. Okay, now we're going back up, but we've got the other half of our break to go. So I think that we are going to get below 21 kilometers per second here. This is going to be a lot of aerobrake passes. Well, we kind of knew that, though, to be honest. Ooh, are we not quite going to get below 21,000? Sad. Short by 2 meters per second. Okay, well, we'll just bring this guy right on back around. There we go. Looks good. And we'll be stowing our solar panels fairly shortly. They're not generating very much power, but they're generating enough to be, you know, quasi-useful. So let's get them stowed, and let's continue to warp our way through this. Okay, we're entering the atmosphere as of now. Cool. These solar panel arrays are actually generating a lot of drag force. I just noticed that. That's 1.5 kilonewtons and still rising. We're almost to periapsis here. 7. That's a lowest yet periapsis. I like it. It's going to continue to get lower. Every time we do this, our periapsis is going to dip slightly lower. And that's exactly what we want to see. So we can see we're definitely shaving off pretty close to 250 meters per second per aerobrake pass. That's pretty okay, to be honest. So we'll re-extend our solar panels at this time. Yeah, that's really close to 250 meters per second, actually. Actually, that's like 150, isn't it? I can't math, apparently. What a game to be playing if you can't math. We're going to come on around over here. Excellent. And we'll stow our solar panels again as we get into position for yet another aerobrake pass. Okay. Let's try this again. How many times are we going to have to do this before we get, like, fully captured by the atmosphere? The answer is a lot, to be honest. It's going to be a whole lot. I wish we had a little bit more fuel to burn down here, but alas, we do not. So that is noted. I want to check in on what this drag force is. That's remarkable to me that this drag force is so much lower than the drag force on these solar panel arrays. Parachutes aren't generating much drag force, nor are the landing legs. The lights aren't generating much, nor are the engines. Honestly, the majority of our drag force is in our solar panel arrays. Which is wild. Okay, well, we'll definitely take that. So watching for the lowest periapsis here, 3079.7 was the previous record, but that time we went down to 0.6. Beautiful. So we now have an apoapsis approaching 40 megameters. If we look at this, we can see we have significantly changed this orbit. When we started this, it was like here, right? So it's down to like half of what it was before. We can see our eccentricity definitely improving. We're at 0.54 at this point, so that is a significant improvement. We do have time for I don't actually want this to be armed. There we go. Accidentally right-clicked on that. We do have time for a number more aerobrake passes in this episode, but I don't think we're going to fully complete this in this episode. It's going to be quite a lot of aerobrake passes, but this is going to get real spicy real quick. I do want to make that very, very clear. So we're going to warp forward to about here, then we'll stow those solar panels. Perfect. And let's enter that atmosphere. Okay, so we're entering the atmosphere now. Perfect. So we can see the ambient temperature here, quite cold. As we get further into the atmosphere of Atraitus, I'm expecting the atmosphere to get quite hot, and we'll see how that ends up playing out. But we're definitely shaving off a good amount of this speed every single time. So 0.6, 0.7. Okay, so we did not get down to 0.5. That is unfortunate, but alas, here we are. Every time we do this, a larger percentage of our orbit is spent in the atmosphere aerobraking. So that is good. We're making progress. It just feels kind of insurmountable at this point because the sheer amount of energy involved here is insane. Absolutely insane. Like, let's take a look at this. If we wanted to circularize this, how much delta V is that going to take to circularize at 3080? Well, approximately 3080. It doesn't have to be perfect for these calculations, but that's going to be almost 4 kilometers per second of delta V. And we figured that we're currently dropping somewhere around 150 meters per second per pass, right? So if we take 3.89, which I'm assuming just is a power of 10 here. If we take 3,890 meters per second and we divide that by 150, that's going to be about 26 more passes to get to this point. It's actually going to be slightly lower than that because that's assuming that the periapsis is not changing at all, which obviously it is. So that's definitely something to consider here. This is going to be quite a lot of aerobrake passes, but we will continue to work our way through these. We've gotten through a lot of them in this episode. I think that we can get this done in the next episode quite easily, I think. As long as we're reasonably expeditious about getting this completed, right? So let's just continue our way through this. And like I said, it's going to be lower than that because that calculation that I did was assuming that that's all done in one go and that the periapsis never changes, right? And the periapsis will change. We know this. We know our periapsis is getting lower on every pass by like 30 meters or so per pass. That appears to be about what it feels like. So we're definitely going to be seeing some significant alterations here. So that's 3079.5 and going up. Okay, so that looks great. We're dipping in deeper, and every 100 meters that we dip in deeper, each pass is going to shave off more and more and more delta V. The real danger here is if you go too deep and you're going too fast, you'll burn up. And that's why I decided to take this very, very cautiously. This is probably overcautious, right? So that's understood. Let's go ahead and get these guys back out, and let's go around for another pass here. I think we can get like a couple more of these passes done in this episode, and I'd very much like to get those completed. I'm going to delete that burn there. I want to warp here. There's still a planned burn here. That's interesting. Okay, so this is now reading as 3079 kilometers as our periapsis. That's a good sign. We're definitely happy about that one. And let's just bring ourselves right on up to the entry point, which is right about here, and warp forward. So that must be rounded. Yeah, it is. It's definitely, that number is rounded using a standard round function, not a floor or a ceiling. Okay, that's fine. We can definitely work with that. So our apoapsis is down to roughly a third of what it was previously. It's not quite a third, but it's a little over a third, I should say. But it's very close to being a third. So that's fantastic. Okay, we are going up at this point, but I think 2 more aerobrake passes, and we should be below the 20-kilometer marker. So that's looking very solid. 20 kilometer per second, I should say. And I'm not sure what orbital velocity at this altitude is. Well, actually, we know that it should be roughly like 16 kilometers per second. A little bit higher than that, I think. Like 17.5 kilometers per second, something along those lines. So we're going to get down below orbital velocity relatively soon. But it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we're going to take some aerobrake passes, and hopefully we'll get this thing down in the next episode. That's what I hope. But if it takes one more full episode of aerobrake passes, I definitely think we can get it done the episode after. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Andy McGard, Dark Horse, Xenocyte, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.